I'm very excited to have Erika Haines, who is a fairly new agent. Erika, welcome. How you doing today?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to give you the little round of applause. So, Erika, you've been with FFL since I believe October, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it was at the end of October, so about 3 months.
Awesome. So I was watching a training you did, and I kind of wanted to open it up with this and a little bit of your kind of story here. You drove, I guess, your first dial day, what, about an hour and a half to the office in Arizona, correct?
Yes.
And what town do you live in or area?
I live in Peoria, which is a solid like 55 miles away, but with traffic and things like that. So yeah, I drive about an hour and 20 minutes each way to the office Monday and Thursdays.
And you're there like clockwork Monday and Thursday?
Every Monday and Thursday. Yeah, I got here at 7:30, do my coffee, my rounds, and then I'm starting dialing at 7:45 every Monday, Thursday.
Awesome. So just to kind of framework that, your biggest month so far since November, you did about 35K, correct?
Yeah, so in December I did 35K and then COVID hit me in January, so it wasn't the production I quite wanted, but yeah, I've issued paid about 85,000 since I've been here.
Wow, that's incredible. So guys, if you're near a local office and you're about 2 hours away, obviously it works because it's working for her. So just give me a little bit of your background. I know you were a corporate recruiter prior to this, correct?
I was, yeah, for 13 years, but it's when people think recruiter, they think what we do, headhunting and selling the job. I was more managing teams and kind of offsetting people. So I was doing the interviewing where they were really trying to get the job as opposed to we're trying to get them to come to us. So it's very different. There was zero sales really in that.
Got it. So what brought you to FFL from that world?
Honestly, I had been in it for 13 years. I had climbed into management. I was making about 100,000 a year plus some bonus. And Julius Gilger and I actually live in the same community. And so him and I continued to have kind of conversations, but I think he knew I was happy where I was at. I always used to say, I'm a corporate girl. Like, I love the structure. I love knowing what my paycheck is going to be. And then, I don't know, one day it just kind of triggered. My son and I were having a conversation, and it just triggered that I wanted more. And I quit my job the next day and started studying.
Wow. So how long did it take you to actually get the license?
I studied for 12 days and then passed on my first time, got contracted, all of that. So it took about 5 weeks to get everything through contracting and all of that.
Awesome. So you basically went at it and kind of left your comfort zone, obviously. So now, another thing I'd heard on a training you had done. So your first dial day, you bought 80 leads and you booked like 15 appointments between I guess it was like 9 to 1 or something, right?
Yeah, well, I started at 7:45. Like I said, I always do that. But yes, I was done by 1 o'clock, 15 appointments. Julius was like, what is going on? And so I actually, after he did the filming, I ended up staying and dialing for 3 more appointments. So yeah, my first run day, 2 days, I ended up having 18 appointments those 2 days.
So obviously you work with awesome mentors, Julius, Clay, Grady. They told you to buy 80 to 100 leads the first dial session, and you believed it without
I
fail,
did.
right?
Yep. And honestly, Steve, I thought I was lucky the first day. I was like, there's no way it's this easy. So I actually on Thursday, because I had the 18 appointments and I was like, well, I bought 80. I don't need 80 more, right? So I had the leftovers and then I only bought an additional like 20 or 30. And I was here dialing from, 8 to 8 because I didn't have those fresh leads. So for me, it was I was glad that I learned that in the very beginning, but it was more about just having the right amount of leads. It had nothing to do with my dials or anything like that. It was that I was prepared for day 1, and day 2, I kind of got slapped in the face a little.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and something that you said in that training really triggered for me. You said you let the leads do the work for you, and explain that to me a little bit.
Yeah, so I think you have to be prepared for fresh leads. It's great to go into the CRM and have those age to kind of fill in the gaps. But if you go in and you're you're only dialing old leads, or you feel like you still have leftover from Monday, they've seen your number. And so when I say I let them work for me, it's I put the numbers in my favor. So I'm buying 60 new leads every Monday and Thursday.
Awesome. Another thing that you had talked about was kind of your diversity.
Mhm.
You had mentioned, a lot of instant internet life leads. Obviously, we're talking a lot about those, and I'm sure you saw now they're ramping up production of those, so everybody's going to see a lot more in their areas. How did you kind of get into this mindset of diversification and having a lot of different vendors for leads?
Actually learned that the hard way as well. When I first started, I made an order of Bang Bang. I did 40, and then I did 40 instants. And then the next time I went to, I thought, well, they're instants, I'm just going to get those. They were gone, right? So at this time, I didn't have enough time to order Bang Bangs because they take some time, happy agents, and there was nothing in the CRM. So I went into my day feeling unprepared, and I was scrounging for appointments. So for me, it's making sure that I have leads coming from all different sources. So I haven't tapped into mortgage protection yet, but I am doing the FEX mailers so that I have consistent new leads coming in. I'm ordering either from Happy Agent or Bang Bang once a week. I'll switch off, and then I'm snagging whatever I can in the CRM. I'm in Phoenix, so we're a little bit sparse here. But anytime I see the old age leads or anything like that, I'm not afraid to buy any of them. Over the weekend, I went in and bought the 3-month, the 1 month, and I even buy the old FEX mailers as well. So whatever I can get my hands on, I'm dialing those. And honestly, I do like paper scheduling, and this is from today. So it's 1 o'clock here, and I started dialing. I have 16 appointments, and these are all off of 3-month mortgage protection leads. So they don't always have to be new. You just have to work them.
So one thing I wanted to touch on that you talked about with your area and being a little light sometime in leads. I've noticed you've done some travel trips. I've also seen you're a single mom. So, number one, hats off to you. How are you managing that, and what does that look like?
Yeah, thank you. So when it comes to the single mom stuff, I actually pencil my kids into my schedule. It sounds really, really bad, but I do. So like, as you can see right here, it says like Jason's football, and then I'll book a schedule around there. So I'm trying to fit my kids in between the day. So that's how I'm managing kind of the single mom stuff. But when it comes to lead flow, Phoenix is sparse. And so I just go into the CRM, find where there's leads, and then go. So Kentucky has been a hot spot for me just because they constantly have the 3-month mortgage protection. But I'm also going to be going into, I got Maryland, Ohio, Florida. So I just went in, found some places with leads, and got the license. So I'm going to be traveling twice a month at least.
Okay. And when you do it twice a month, what do you do? Like a 3-day trip type of a thing?
Yeah, so I've actually tried several ways where I did a 6-dayer. So I went in, and then I tried to run for the 4 days and then come back. But honestly, I found that there was too much white space for, like what they say. I just didn't have enough time to book 4 days straight. So my perfect travel trip is going to be, I'll fly in on a Sunday. And then I will have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday booked, and then I'll fly back on a Thursday. And it doesn't have to be those exact days, but that's how I do it. And then on my travel days, I'm also dialing as well. So I won't leave my town unless I have at least 10 appointments on for my calendar.
Got it. So I would venture to guess that your mentality and the way you kind of operate on a travel trip different than when you're in your own backyard is you're 100% there for work, and you want no white space, and you don't have to worry about all of these things that you might have to do, responsibilities if you're home, right?
That's exactly why they're so successful. And especially for parents, we have to come home, and even if we have someone else helping us, there's the dinner, the night, and all of that. So by traveling, I completely alleviate that, and I can just focus solely on work. So if there's an hour gap, I'm recruiting, I'm dialing to fill in the gaps as well.
That's awesome. Okay. So, something I wanted to talk to you about was kind of your simplicity. I've seen a lot of stuff where you talk about your simplistic approach on the phone and in the house. Why do you think you have taken that approach to kind of your phone script?
I would say it's because I have a very big personality. I'm very loud, rambunctious, and I feel like I thought I was going to do well because of that. And it was actually the opposite. I think it kind of turns people off because they're like, why is she so excited about life insurance? Right. So I had to kind of tone it down and I have to practice. It's hard for me to go back and forth to recruiting, to be honest, because I've like monotoned my voice so much. But I think that I was talking myself out of a lot of appointments and out of a lot of sales because I was just kind of veering off into different places as opposed to this is why I'm here. This is what we're going to do. Let's get it done.
I love that. Yeah, I think simplicity is the key. Now you're in home, like you had, you worked corporate America. You had never, went selling in people's homes.
Yeah.
How was that transition in kind of your first 30, 60, 90 appointments? What did that look like?
Yeah, it honestly, it used to give me anxiety. I didn't know what I was walking into. I didn't know if they were going to be mean or, it, it was hard for me to adjust, especially being a woman. There's some rough areas here. But honestly, I've learned to just take the approach of every house I walk into, they filled out a form. They want my help and I'm going to help them. So I think that that helped me. So going from like this scared puppy of like, I don't know what I'm walking into, as opposed to they need me, I'm here to do a job and I'm going to do it. It took the stress out completely because I was confident going in that I was going to help them. And that changed my numbers.
Love it. Okay. How do you kind of work the financial inventory to limit objections in the house?
Yeah. So when I'm doing the financial inventory, I think in the beginning, I wish I would have focused on this more. If I wasn't doing mortgage protection, it didn't make sense to me why I cared about their rent or mortgage or how much they were paying. But essentially, it was building a case, right? So now I get all of that information, make sure that on top of asking what they pay or if they pay anything more, I always ask, okay, besides this, what are your major bills? And they kind of look at me and I say, car payment, insurance, anything like that, about how much is that? So now I know their big bills, their biggest bill, and then what we have left over. This way at the end, if they say they can't fit it in, I have the authority to say, well, actually, this is what you pay, this is what you have extra. So what you're saying is it's not important enough to do this, not that you can't afford it. Is that correct? And they kind of stop and, well, what were the numbers again? Let me see, maybe I can fit it in.
I like that. Box them into a corner. Love it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, so as a new agent, how do you kind of manage the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the mindset stuff that the business can kind of throw at us?
It definitely does. It can be a roller coaster if you let it. I think when I've listened to podcasts and they say try not to ride the highs and try not to ride the lows, as much as we say that, I think it's just natural human reaction to go up and down. You get excited with the big sales, you get down when you have the no shows. So I think it's just constantly being plugged in to people that are being successful. So if I'm having a bad day, I'll call, Nina D and talk to her for a few minutes. So I think the biggest thing for me is having mentors, whether they're above me or they're just people that work with me that are going through the same thing, and then we can help each other. Now, if you're going to call someone, it's not to like be negative and, people like to be in the gutter together. It's not like that. It's more like, this is what's happened. How do I fix it? What can I do to be better? So find someone that can help lift you up in the bad days, not someone that's going to have a pity party with you.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously this was your first convention, and I'm sure you got a ton out of it. And now we're kind of in that, we're a month away, and like anything, we're excited. And then are we back to normal? How have you taken what you learned at conference and now kind of taken it to the next level as to where you want to go in the next year?
Yeah, so right before conference, I did hire my first staff. So I do have an admin on now and a part-time recruiter. And I think the biggest takeaway from conference is that I felt like I was running pretty fast. I had hit senior sales manager my second month. And I thought, wow, this is great. And then I went to convention. I'm like, there are people doing this so much faster. And so I think my takeaway was how can I do more, but by doing less, essentially, right? Biggest thing is keeping everything simple. And so I jumped on and I'm doing the high level recruiting now, put out a few different ads. And so for me, I think the biggest takeaway was building my business as opposed to just focusing on the sales.
Now, going into convention, did you have eyes on getting a staff, or did you have one before it, or was it right out of it you got your first staff?
I think it was convention that kind of helped me because I knew it was coming and I didn't want to be the person that left convention without a staff member. So I hired someone like, I think it was a week before.
Wow.
So right now I'm just kind of getting up and now I'm starting to feel the relief of it. It was the best thing I could have done, but she does all of my phone calls, my waiting, my thank yous, and all the stuff I don't want to do that if I would have just done it sooner, I probably could have been doing more.
Got it. So one big thing that I'm taking away from you and just the personality is you do, like, you don't think, you just do, and you kind of dove right in. Is that just something you've always had? Did you kind of develop it as you got going here?
Yeah, I definitely developed it. I don't know what it is about this business that kind of did it for me. I don't know if it's that I see the reward at the end, but normally I'm the person that sits in front of like the grocery store that comparing chips for 10 minutes. So it's definitely not my natural instinct, but I just know that people have put together the plan. Like they say, this is what you need to do, get a staff and start recruiting, continue to sell at a respectable level. And so if it's all set in front of me, for me, it's a no-brainer to just follow the path.
Love it. So, a little bit back on the travel thing. So, how do you feel with the schedule now? You're able to, I would assume, have more time to recruit, in the fact that you can go out and run a 3-day trip. And I'm sure you'll write, 10, 15, 20 grand in a trip, do that twice a month, whatever. That kind of sets your month. How do you then take that rest of that time to build and recruit your team?
Yeah. So it's funny because the reason why I didn't travel in the beginning is because I thought it was going to take too much time away from me, when in essence it did the opposite, because I can go out and run 3 days and make the same amount of money that I was doing in 4.5 run days here in my hometown. So it's allowed me to kind of open up my time to do my recruitment and be actually more plugged in than I was. So in the very beginning, I was watching podcasts and trainings and things like that. And then I got so integrated that I just didn't feel like I had enough time. And so now I'm using that free time to connect with other agents, mentor my agents, and it definitely has worked out better.
So now, what production did you guys do? I know you said sales manager. What did you guys do last month, I guess, and how many
Yeah,
agents?
so we did right at 100. So we hit sales manager, and then I feel like we've kind of just stayed at the same exact numbers. So I'm expecting a pretty big March coming out of my team. I have 2 individuals that are trying to hit sales manager themselves. So I think that it's just been trying to identify who my leaders are in my team, and trying to get them ready so that we can all kind of explode together. So I plugged in a ton of different people. I think I have right now maybe 40 people plugged underneath me, only about 17 writing. But now I've identified who it is that's going to build with me. And I think now it's just going to pick up momentum from here.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay, so you guys do an amazing job on the warm market recruiting, and I want to talk about that. You now have this staff member who and yourself recruiting. What are some of your favorite cold market recruiting systems that you're using right now to bring in agents, licensed and unlicensed?
Yeah, so when it comes to cold market, I'll be honest, I haven't been the greatest at it up until this month. I did lock in 2 slots from the high level, and then I have a couple zip recruiters going. But up until this month, my entire market has been warm market. Like, I love social media for recruiting. I think that that's where my personality does benefit me. In the business, not so much, but when it comes to recruiting on social media, people are coming to me constantly. And it's people that you wouldn't even think, because I'm posting something silly about, for example, this weekend, I was running, I went to my son's football game, I went back into an appointment, had posted about that, and people are like, how are you managing both of this? And so I think it piques people's interest because they can relate to me. And so, yeah, I think a mixture of both, but I would say if I could do it all over, I would have done cold market from the very beginning, because warm market eventually does dry out.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and I was going to talk about kind of a little bit of the warm market. I know, we've had Ashley on, and a bunch of you ladies do a really, really good job with the Instagram tagging, resharing. How many stories would you say you do a week? And then do you do a lot of private message of, just people that are on Instagram that are just maybe in the industry in general?
Yeah, so I probably post about 10 times a day. It could be a mixture of things. I don't want it to be 100% just posting of numbers. So I'm pretty vulnerable in my posts, I would say. If I have a really good day, I post. If I have a day that has been emotional from a client, I post that as well. So I'm kind of reaching all different areas. And I don't do that necessarily strategically. It's just I'm letting myself just be me in my social media presence. And so I would say I'm posting, 75 times to 100 a week. And then when it comes to direct messaging, I am doing that. So I'm following certain hashtags of people in the industry, and then just kind of, I don't ever just go into like, hey, I see you're in insurance. I'll find something on their page that I like, that I feel that I can connect with, and then I'll start talking about that.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
And you
I
had mentioned
sometimes,
you
go
oh, go
ahead.
on, go on. No, go on.
I was just gonna say that I've tried the, hey, you're in insurance too, so am I, we should connect. And then they try to recruit me, or they get annoyed by me. So honestly, the people that I've recruited from warm market are just like, oh, hey, I see you bodybuild. I used to do that too. And I don't even bring up FFL. But now I've connected with them. So when their stories come up, I'm going to be one of the top ones because I was in their most recent conversations. It's just how the algorithms work. And so now they're seeing what I'm doing without me having to tell them.
That's awesome. And it's not crazy amounts of work. It's just connection with people
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And like you had said, you've had some people, I think we all have, where you never in a million years thought they would have reached out to you, but guess what? They hate what they're doing and they see what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people want to do what everyone else is doing if they see that it's working. So, and there are going to be those times. I think the biggest thing for people to understand that are just getting into this, people are always going to hate on you, or they're not going to like that you're constantly posting it. And if you're afraid to post 10 times a day because of those 2 people that are negative Nancy's on your Instagram, then you're focusing on the wrong thing, because you may have 1,000 or more other people that are going to continuously watch you. So let the few people that get annoyed by it, let them delete you, or just ignore it altogether. Because if I was afraid to do that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
I think you just said a mouthful right there. In general, being afraid and not being afraid to do things. So we'll kind of leave with this. I think you're doing so many amazing things and really balancing the selling a lot and hiring a lot side of things. If you could give anything to the new agents here on, getting a fast start and how to dive into this, what would that be?
I would say to not be afraid to run fast, because really, Steve, the biggest thing is we all see the successes of, you, me, Clay, Julius, Grady, but there's so many mistakes that are made in the back end that nobody sees. Right. I've made bad underwriting decisions. I've gone into homes and made 50 friends in a week and not any sales. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't expect perfection, and just understand that if you put the activity in and you have the right attitude, that the numbers are going to follow. So if it's week 1 and you're putting activity in, don't lower your activity because you didn't get the success you wanted. Continue on the trail, and eventually the numbers are going to pull up and meet you at your activity.
Wow, I love that. And you know what? That was very, very simple. And I think that's what a new agent needs. They need simple.
I'm a simple person, Steve. What can I say?
I love it. Well, I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to see what your group is going to do. Do you have a name picked out?
I do. It's Redemption. My logo has taken a while to put together, but it should be released in the next day or so.
Awesome. Love it. I look forward to it. Anything that we can do for you, please reach out, and we thank you so much.
Will do. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.